Hey YouTube, Puff and Snuff here. Ian checking in as always from beautiful Northeast Ohio. I am back again with another Snus review. I know I've said this before, all of my Snus reviews, but just to recap, this is done in conjunction with Chris over at In a Pinch. And as always, a link to his channel is going to be right down there in the description. We're not discussing the products ahead of time except to set up logistics, so we have not compared notes. I have no idea what he's going to say. I suspect I could guess what he's going to say, but not because we've discussed anything ahead of time. I assume he will have more of the technical content than I will in terms of portion weight and pricing, nicotine content, things like that. I'm not doing outside research on the product, with one exception with this, and we'll get to that when we come to that part of the review. For me, I'm flying blind. I'm about a little better than halfway through this can, so my opinions are entirely my own. Also, one last thing before we jump into the review. As we've just, I've said on here before, anytime it's evening or night and I don't have natural light coming from the window right behind the camera, this room gets awfully dim. So I've adjusted the brightness on the webcam to account for that. The problem with that is that it kind of washes some things out. So the resolution appears even worse than it does at the best of times. So my apologies for that. But it is what it is. So, moving on to the review, we are talking about Lundgrens perforated portion. As always, just to start by talking about the can itself, I think this is another very classy looking can. It's not overly ornate, but not so simple that it looks, bargain brand kind of labeling. It's a very nice coppery bronze color against the black. You can see there's the wrong side. There's a silhouette over here. Don't know who that is. I'm guessing it's someone associated with Fiedler and Lundgren, the manufacturers of the product, but I don't know. Hopefully Chris does. Otherwise, fairly typical can. Again, it's got that copper and black color scheme. It comes with the usual warning label, garbage that gets in the way. Back the can has more warnings and mostly words I can't read. So probably not as classy a nice a can to me as the Anglehome that we did last weekend, but I like it. It's slick. What's unique and what did drive me to do a little bit of research into the product is the catch lid. Like all products, it does have the well here for the spent portions. However, this is not a rigid bottom. If I do this, you can see that it actually expands as you push on it. So apparently this is called flex lock. I think I've seen it called flex lid. The whole idea here is you could fit more spent portions into this because it will expand without popping the top. In other words, as it overfills, the pressure sinks it down rather than pops the catch lid. Really cool feature. I wish more snus cans used that feature. I think it's real. I don't run into the problem too often of having too many portions in the lid. It's usually convenient enough for me to find a way to dispose of them. But for times where you can't, it would be nice to know you could squeeze one or two extra portions in there. So that's neat. And like I said, that's the one thing I looked at when I opened the can and I saw the lid. I had to kind of look around a little bit and see what that was all about. So really neat, really innovative, and I dig that. On to the snus itself. This is a perforated portion, meaning that the pouch itself has little teeny tiny holes in it, which I would imagine, and it is the case, it will begin to release the flavors much quicker, even compared to a regular original portion. Whereas the VIT portions take a little longer to develop the flavor, to release the nicotine, and to kind of fully mature in the lip than an original portion. The perforated portion speeds that process up even more quickly. So you get a real strong hit of flavor right away from this. Um, I don't know if the camera will pick it up. Yeah, you can't see it real well. Chris, I'm sure, will have a much better shot of that. But there are just a bunch of teeny tiny little holes, and they're not so big that the tobacco is going to leach out of the pouch. Having been through about a half a can of this, I haven't had any of the tobacco inside the portion leach through these little holes. So that does not need to be a concern. In the can, it's just a really pleasant aroma. There is some base tobacco. There is some dark base tobacco notes. But on top of that, there's a natural sweetness, almost like a clover kind of sweetness. There is something distinctly floral and something distinctly herbaceous in there. I don't really, there's no sense of a floral or fruit topping necessarily. It's not sweet or herby or floral in a synthetic way. It's a very natural aroma. It's a bit like you're walking almost through an herb garden, where you do have the qualities of the herbs themselves, but also that sweet floral aroma from heather or clover or whatever else is in the mix there. Really, just super pleasant. Almost in a way, uh, the longer you kind of take that in, there's almost a tea-like quality to it, a green tea kind of aroma coming out of there. Really unique, really cool. So then of course put the portion in, which I'm already fully loaded here. I'm about 20 minutes or so into this portion, and no real surprise. What comes across in the lip mirrors what comes across in the aroma. So to kind of unpack the flavor here a little bit, first of all, yes, you do get a nice punch of the flavor almost right away. Sorry, the perforated portion does what it is, I'm sure, designed to do, and you get the full flavor of the tobacco almost immediately. It takes no time at all to really develop, and what you get is really super pleasant. It's not as tobacco forward as a lot of snoozes, and you do get that semi-sweet floral herby taste to it. I wouldn't say it's mellow. I wouldn't say this is you got to search for the flavor kind of snus, but even with the perforations that give you that full flavor very quickly, it's not overbearingly strong. Um, just really nice. Um, and again, with the camera settings here, you won't be able to tell. But these are fairly fluffy portions. These are nice and pillowy, nice and soft. There's a good bit of moisture. It's not sopping wet. Um, if you push on it, it will. The moisture is enough to kind of stain the pouch. Certainly, this is not a dry portion by any stretch, but it's not sopping wet. It doesn't need to be. Frankly, with the perforations, it doesn't need a higher level of moisture to do what it needs to do. So because it is so fluffy, and because the perforations takes with it takes the saliva very easily, it is super comfortable, super soft tucked in here. Um, and it just feels very natural to have in your lip. And then the flavor is so natural that kind of follows on the heels of that. It really is a good snoozing experience for me, at least. Once it's been in for 5 or 10 minutes, that saltiness does begin to come out, and you do get that salt to complement the floral tones of this. So um, to the extent that floral has that natural sweetness, the salt is in there and it does balance it out. very nicely. No real pepper. You don't have that peppery tobacco flavor that you get sometimes, which I think is a good thing because I think that would get in the way. I don't think a very peppery tobacco base would add to this at all. It is a little woodsy, which, given everything else going on with the flavor, that slight woodsiness plays really, really, really well against the botanical nature of the snus in general. So really, really well done. I really like everything about this snus, from the can to the innovative lid here to the flavor itself. Really well done. You know, in the last review, the joint review where Chris and I were on camera at the same time talking about Anglohome, you know, I was hoping that would be a good change of pace kind of snooze for me. And in my opinion, it fell short of that. This, however, is an excellent change of pace when I'm not looking for that real heavy, strong, tobacco-centric flavor, um, with those peppery notes, those dark notes, kind of driving the experience. This to me is the ultimate change of pace because it does everything a snooze should do, and it does it well, but it does it differently than kind of the traditional um, tobacco and perhaps bergamot essence in there. So really, really well done. You know, for me, this is an 8 out of 10 easily. It is something that I could honestly see myself buying an entire roll of just to have around. So high marks for me. I'm interested to see what Chris thinks. Like I said, I could probably take a few guesses, but I'm not going to. I'll save it for his upload and let him speak for himself. So that is all for me, guys. Again, you can't see the words, but that is Lundgren's perforated portion from Fiedler and Lundgren's very, very good snuff. Sorry, snus. Very, very good snus. I think that's all for me. So until next time, guys, take it easy.